Please join me in welcoming our speaker, Chad DuBois. Chad, a native of Montgomery, Alabama, graduated from Auburn University in 2017, where he received his degree in media studies and political science. After graduating from Auburn University, Chad accepted a job with Stars Entertainment and moved to Denver, Colorado. Politics brought him back to his home in Alabama, where he managed and produced digital media for a campaign. Now, Chad works at the Central Alabama Community Foundation as a communication and marketing coordinator. He is currently pursuing his master's degree from Auburn University. Thank you, Chad.
Thank you for that.
Being here today.
I'm sorry?
I said thank you for being here today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. And in full disclosure to everyone here on this Zoom, I'll let you know that I was tested positive for COVID this weekend, so I'm feeling a little under the weather. So if I have to stop to drink some water, my voice goes out, bear with me. But we're gonna get through this and we're gonna do it. So I'm doing this from my bedroom, so I'm really appreciative for the nonprofit summit background that y'all provided. So like she said, I work for the Central Alabama Community Foundation, where I do our communications and marketing. And this year has obviously thrown a wrench in all the plans that we originally had, and we had to quickly adapt to a world of social media in order to further our mission and to continue to do what we do. So I'm going to take it a step further and say this talk is about digital media or digital marketing, but I'm going to take it a step further and give you a playbook for social media to be effective in engaging your audiences. Some of the takeaways that we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about your audience breakdown, content. We're also going to break it down on platforms to talk about what platform could be best for what message you want to get out there. Some tips on writing posts, how to make them effective, what looks best. Photography tips, because a lot of this is going to be heavy in photography with what needs to be included in your post, best practices, and then ultimately we'll end with building an audience. And if I'm looking down, I have my notes printed out for you guys so I can follow along as well. So the first thing we're going to talk about are audiences. And so you need to figure out who your key audiences are. And for all of you, since you're nonprofits, what that might look like are participants, members and volunteers, donors, employers, board, and then industry professionals. And it's really important that you have a breakdown of what your key target audiences are, because you can then tailor what your message to them, what that message is based on their role in your organization. So you have participants who benefit from the work that your organization puts on. They're the ones who need to see events on Facebook, and they need to have the key dates and information in order to participate and share that with their audiences. So that kind of, you want to plan events with the participants in mind. You have your members and volunteers. They're obviously going to be more engaged than participants, but they are a key contributor to your organization's success. So with whatever you're doing, your members and volunteers need to be equipped to tell the story of your organization, because they're kind of an extension of what you do through their involvement. You have your donors, and obviously the donors are who fund what you do, and they make your work possible. And so through their donations, there might be opportunity to find stories about why they're donating or what started their involvement with the organization to tell a story on social media. And then you have your employers, and each employer at your organization, I know with mine, we're all involved on social media. We're very engaged, and then we have our own audiences. So it's leveraging also your employer's social media followings to share that message and to find success for your organization. And then the last two, the board, obviously we all know what a board does. They hear about new partnerships and financial successes, so it's important to share those with them. And then it's important also that your organization is viewed as an industry leader. And so consider, when you're marketing and doing your content planning, whether it be in emails or newsletters, what have you, you're considering posting important industry news or industry trends within all of your content. And then a tip that I find useful, I haven't really utilized it recently, but I know a lot of people do, and I know it is a useful thing, is having a spreadsheet of all of your donors and your members and even local journalists, all of their contact information, social media handles, because that really helps. And if you have a quick story that you need to share on social media, or you have something that you need to quickly get out there, you can just go to that spreadsheet, find their information, and tag them and know that they see it. So those are a breakdown of the audiences that we'll be targeting. So then next we have the content. And so some forms of content that generally anyone will be sharing is event promotion, program promotion, donor recognition, thanking volunteers, fundraising, highlighting team players, and your organizational information. So we'll go into a semi breakdown of all of these, but what's really important on the content side of this is planning your posts in advance. And this is something I do. It's something a lot of my friends at work in the marketing world do. We have a content calendar. And what I see on social media a lot, and in a lot of the emails that I receive, is posts solely about event promotion or program promotion, but there's not a lot of variety in the other types of posts that you can be making. So you can already plan on your post, whether it be Facebook or Instagram. It's only going to reach a very small percentage of your audience. So you have to diversify the content that you're posting to maximize your followers and the audience that you have. So if you're posting in a month for event promotions, you need to make sure that you balance that out with highlighting team players. What are your employees doing outside the work that's making a difference in the community? That's a good story to share. What's some organizational information that you can share? Are there any volunteers that have done something extraordinary for organization that you can get a quick video of them talking about what they're doing and thanking them on that video? So what you want to do is create like an Excel spreadsheet. And there's also other content planning calendar software out there that's free. And just with a quick Google search, you can find one. I use Excel, and you can have different columns for each of these different type of posts that I have on the slide. And then you can have a column for dates, you can have a column for photos, you can have a column for what social media platforms that content in that post is going to go to, and a column for verbiage. So that way, you know, when you open your Excel spreadsheet, you see what needs to be posted, where it needs to be posted, and what will be in that post. So it's a lot of work on the front end, but it frees up your time on the back end to focus on other areas while you know that you're still going to have an active presence on all your social media platforms. And say you come down on COVID and you can't go to the office and your coworker needs to post for you, you can just share that calendar with them, and they can make sure that that job is getting done. So it's really important that you plan your posts in advance. Seeing it in the calendar layout, seeing it in an Excel spreadsheet layout allows you to see what areas you're really heavy on, what areas you're lacking in, and how you can balance that out with other types of posts to make, like I said, to make sure you're maximizing your audience's reach. And it also should be stated that, actually, I'll state that here in a little bit. That will come in a little bit. So now we're going to talk about social media platforms. And for me, with what I do, the three big ones that are really important are Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. I purposely left off Twitter solely because Twitter is just its own breed of posts and content. It's really heavy with news. It's kind of hard and more difficult to make a following on Twitter for specific needs. And then as well as I left off YouTube because Facebook is so heavy in video content. It's redundant to put something onto YouTube and then put that YouTube link on Facebook. I always remind people and inform people that the iPhone and Apple is a really good example of how you need to conduct yourself when it comes to posts and directing your audience to go somewhere. The iPhone, if you can't get somewhere within 3 clicks, it's not effective. So if you're putting something on YouTube and putting that link on Facebook and that link has a bunch of verbiage, you're losing potential followers to engage with the content that you're posting. So you want to make it easiest for them to consume, and sending them to another site when they're already on a site, it's just a little redundant. So we're going to focus on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and then we're going to talk about each of the little aspects of it that is useful. So with Facebook, you have your events, and with events, you can create a specific event, just like the Cary Center did with this nonprofit summit. And within that event, you can share whether push it out to all those people that have interacted with that post. Whereas if you just make a post on Facebook, a lot of your audience might miss it. So it needs to be in a consolidated area. And what's great about the events tab is you can boost your event. And when you boost your event, say you have a small dollar budget, and your event is an outdoor event for some group of people. Well, in that event, in that boosting for that event, you can decide who your audience is, that age range. Do they live within a 5-mile radius of the city that you're in or where that event's happening? And you can target it to that specific audience. So that's really important that you create these events, because there are certain tools that come with making that that is useful. For example, last year I was in charge of planning the Red Nose Run down in Dothan, and we had over 200 runners, which was great. And the majority of those runners saw the run because I created an event on Facebook and made an ad out of it. And so I targeted that ad to people that lived basically within like 100 miles of Dothan. They were interested in community events. They were interested in outdoor events. They were athletic and active, and it boosted to them. And then we saw a great return on the other end. Facebook Live is another really great free tool that Facebook offers. And that's something that I've had to utilize personally this year with my work in the era of COVID. We give out grants and scholarships, usually to in-person events. But because of COVID, we couldn't have those in-person events, just like this one today. And so we had to find an outlet that allowed us to still engage that audience while doing the work that we do. And so creating a Facebook Live studio at our work was really important. It can be as simple as holding a phone out just to get out a quick message, or doing what we did and creating a whole studio setup in order to engage our audience. But Facebook Live, in conjunction with what we talked about on the last slide with content planning, was really important. I had an entire content calendar just for our Facebook Lives. I knew on the 1st and 15th of each month, we were going to be having these award presentations. And so from there, I was able to plan out when I was going to alert the nonprofit organizations of our announcements, alerting our board, knowing when to post what on Facebook in order to make sure that people know it's the day before, it's the day of, it's starting in 15 minutes. So that those tools together really maximized the reach that we had. And I believe when it was all said and done, we reached about 80,000 people through Facebook Lives in a 6-month period. Kind of already talked about boosting a little bit, but on each post that you make, you have the ability to boost it. So it's important to set aside a monthly budget, whether that's $20 or you can do $100 each month for your events. Boosting posts allows you to make sure that you're reaching the exact audience that your organization needs to reach. That's also important because you're also growing your audience when you're doing that, because people will like your post, they'll share your post, and then but they might not like your page. And so then you can invite those new people to like your page. And so you're growing the followers that your Facebook page has. And just with reviews, if you do any work with any individuals, it's important to get them to do a review on Facebook, because that helps perform well in regards to the algorithm and making sure that your Facebook post pops up on searches at the top. So as long as you have Facebook reviews happening on a regular basis and they're good Facebook reviews, it's going to benefit you in the long run. And then, so the next platform that we're going to talk about is Instagram. And Instagram's pretty straightforward. You have your Instagram posts, your stories, and your live. One thing that I see a lot of organizations and individuals do is when they're trying to promote an event or to do a giveaway, they're posting photos of like their coffee or a building or of an object. Those posts don't perform well. The best posts that perform well is if it's of an individual. So say you're giving away a bag of coffee and a coffee mug, and you're trying to engage your audience to share this post to grow your following, but also to bring awareness to an event you're doing. Don't post a picture of the bag of coffee and the coffee mug. Post a picture of someone holding it or interacting with it. Posts with people always perform better. I don't know the science behind it. I don't know how Instagram and Facebook figure that out. But what I do know is that if it's a post of if it's a picture of a person, it's going to perform better every single time. You want to keep it simple, no words on the picture. And then the text of the Instagram post needs to be short and concise. That is the secret formula to having an Instagram post that does really well. Your Instagram stories, that's where you can go crazy with your drawing and your GIFs and adding text to it. Instagram stories only live for 24 hours. So it's a really easy and fun way to engage your audience to do a specific task. If it's to go follow something else or to go register for an event or you're doing a giveaway, the stories are perfect for that. And an Instagram Live is pretty much the same thing as Facebook Live, but it just reaches a different audience. There's a lot of different software out there. Like for my organization, we use Mevo. And on that software, you can simultaneously stream to Facebook and Instagram. So you're streaming to two platforms at once. So it's important that you look up live streaming software, and there's several free platforms out there based on ease of use that you can utilize. So when you do go live, you can go live to multiple social media sites to make sure all of your followers are getting the message that you need them to get. And the last social media platform that's really effective is LinkedIn. But LinkedIn is usually used just for more professional development. If you have any job posting or industry news, it's important to utilize LinkedIn. Getting followers on LinkedIn is fairly easy when you're posting regularly. So you don't have to post as much on LinkedIn as you do Facebook and Instagram to keep your audience engaged and active, but making sure that you are posting professional development posts or industry news or what you're doing to help further a certain cause that's related to your industry is really important to get that up on LinkedIn, because ultimately it grows your audience everywhere else. So we're not going to really talk about Twitter, but we are going to talk about how to write a post. Let me get a check of the time. All right, cool.
We've got a question that came in on the chat about live streaming software you use.
So when it comes to live streaming software, like I said, I use Mevo, M-E-V-O, and it's a little camera that we bought. And it's an app on, you can download an app on your phone or your iPad, and then the camera connects to the iPad, and then you live stream from the iPad or your iPhone. I believe that they have now created a software that you can download onto your laptop that live streams from like Zoom and like all this kind of stuff. So Mevo is one of the live streaming softwares. Other softwares, I know they exist, but if I'm being honest, I can't think of the name of them off the top of my tongue. But in a quick Google search, just free live streaming software, and it's going to come up. There's a bunch of different brands, so you can research them for for which one is best for your organizational needs. But we use Mevo, and it works wonderfully.
Can you spell that again?
M-E-V-O.
M as in Mary. E-V-O. Okay.
Yes.
E-V-O. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so now we're going to move on, and I just brought up my chat too, so now I can see that. So we're going to talk about writing a post on, this is applicable for all the platforms. One thing that I notice that is not an effective practice for a lot of organizations are the posts that are super long. They don't get to the point quick enough, and you lose attention span, and people just keep scrolling, and you're losing engagement on a post. So there's two questions that you always need to remind yourself when writing posts. What's important? What's the most important point to get across? And what matters most to the audience? Keep those two questions in mind always when writing out content on your social media platforms. So there's no need to write these lengthy posts. Everything can be pretty much abbreviated to something that can be consumed in a short amount of time. Begin your sentences with action verbs. So you want to tell people like click to read or donate now, buy tickets. All of those are really important phrases to start posts with to try to like get that engagement up. The first couple words of your post, they're the most important words when keeping that attention span. So make sure that when you're not just, I'm trying to think of examples off the top of my head, but just don't write words just to write words. I know when I was in college, there was a lot of times when you're trying to write a paper to length, but you're not trying to write it to content and quality. So think about just, there's no minimum or maximum length that these posts need to be. Just make sure that it's concise and it's quality. It's really important also that with whatever you're posting a picture or a video with it. It helps your posts perform really well in the different algorithms that exist on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. So whether that's a picture that corresponds with your post, or the majority of what needs to be said is in a video, and then your post is just directing people to get this message by watching the video. I will say if you're posting a video, the first 4 seconds of the video, it's called a hook, and it's the most important 4 seconds in determining how long people are going to stay engaged and interacted with that video. So when you're planning your content out, time yourself reading whatever it is that you need to, what it is that you're speaking, and make sure that the first 4 to 5 seconds of what you're saying is really engaging and captivating to keep people engaged in your post. So remember, pictures perform well. Make sure the pictures are on the same subject that you're trying to get across with the post. A really good example of that, of what just recently went viral out of here in Montgomery, is the grandfather who had the bucket of baseballs in the note on the baseball bucket, talking about these were baseballs that my children use, that my grandkids use, but they're older now. I'm older, so I can't really play baseball. So I hope this brings you as much joy as it brought us. And they were just on the Today Show yesterday talking about it because it went viral. What's really important about that is that that story could have been told just in a post. They could have just transcribed that content that was in the letter on that bucket of baseballs and just put it in a post and shared it on social media, but they posted a picture of it. And so that picture really is what captivated people's minds. They were able to see the grandfather's handwriting. They were able to see the baseballs. They know that it's a true story. It verified what they were reading. So if you can take a picture of whatever it is that you're posting about, as long as it's relevant, make sure you add that to your post because it'll help out a lot. And then it goes without being said, make sure everything's spelled correctly. Make sure if anyone needs to be tagged, they're tagged properly in the post. If there's any links, don't miss the link. Make sure that the video and the photo are finished uploading to the post before you press upload. And then if you're scheduling a post through content calendar software or on Facebook, you have the option to plan posts in advance and schedule them to go out at a certain time. Make sure that your AM or your PM is right. I've made that mistake. I've scheduled posts in the past for work that were supposed to go out at 8:30 a.m. and it went out at 8:30 p.m. And I've gotten in trouble for that. So just don't make the same mistakes that I've made. If you're scheduling posts, make sure your timing is correct. So that is all I have on content. And now I want to get into some photography tips. It's really important that even if you're just using an iPhone can take absolutely amazing pictures. I don't think that's up for debate. But what is up for debate is the quality of those photos based on a few things: the position, the background color, lighting, and then it's called the rule of thirds, and I'll get into that one. So when it comes to position for your photography that you're taking for Instagram or putting in your Facebook posts, make sure that it's at eye level with whoever you're taking a photo of. The camera lens needs to be eye level with the subject of whoever it is that you're taking a photo of, or slightly above, but keep it at eye level. You need to always kind of pre-plan photos in your head, in the sense where what is in the background. If you are taking a photo of a child in a Halloween costume, what is the background? Is the background really busy? Are there a lot of cars? Are there a lot of cars that are moving by? Like, are there items in the background that are going to take away from the focus of your photo? So I always try to make sure the background of my photos are some kind of like neutral. Is it like a neutral background where there's no other figures, there's no people, there's no animals that can distract from the subject in the post. And also, if you're not using an iPhone, I know a lot of organizations invest in pretty basic DSLR cameras. Those cameras are great because they have autofocus on them. And if you zoom out the lens all the way and then step back and then focus the camera on your subject, it's going to blur the background while keeping the subject in focus. And a blurred background is always the ideal look to a photo. So just remember, if you have it on autofocus, zoom out the lens all the way and step as far back as you need to get your subject in the screen, and then it gives you that nice professional photography look. And then color and lighting. It's always important to have some kind of pop of color in a photo to grab your attention on your subject. Keep that in mind. But when it comes to lighting, Brittany Branian said it perfectly last night in her email to the speakers today. Make sure your lighting's coming from the front. So if you have, if you're on a Zoom call, if you're taking photos, make sure that wherever the light source is, it's coming from the front. So you don't want a window behind you. The window can kind of be to a side or in front, but not behind. It really makes the camera lose its quality of the photo. And it's just not good photography practice. And I see it all the time. So that means, when's the best time to take photos? In the morning or around 5 p.m. at night, the golden hour. And then you can position that sunlight directly to be on your subject, not above or behind, but in front of. And that's really important. One thing that organizations need to always remember, and with taking photos, is seeking permission from the individuals that you're taking photos of. It's not something that's always thought of, but I have seen in the past there be some legal happenings with photos that the subjects didn't give permission for their photo to be used publicly. So just always make sure that you get that permission, and mostly in writing, when you're taking photos of whether it's volunteers or kids at your organization. Seeking that permission is really important. When taking your photos, rule of thirds is really important, because it's where the eye tends to send its focus to. So on your viewfinder of your camera, all cameras have this option. The iPhone has this option. It's a grid, just like a tic-tac-toe grid. And you want to make sure that on the points where the lines of the grid meet, that's where the subject is. So it's not dead center of the photo, but it's a little off of center, a little to the right or a little to the left on those points. And it really makes for a really good photo. And it's called rule of thirds. and you can get more information on that by Googling rule of thirds, and there's a whole science behind why that's a really good photography practice. And then you have your graphics. When it comes to graphics, you might want to add some verbiage on your photo. You might want to just put in like a little sticker or event time if you're trying to promote an event. What's really important is to know that there's a lot of free like graphic design programs out there, and I'm sure a lot of you know what they are, but Canva, and I'll type this out in the chat, it's called Canva or Pablo. And both of those are really good at making quick graphics for free. Whether you need a Facebook ad or you need a Twitter photo or an Instagram photo, on Canva, it has all the different types of posts you can make. And then it already has like a preset template. That's what I'm looking for, preset template for the sizes for whatever kind of post you're making for whatever site it is. And it's really easy to search through and find. So just make sure you know that Canva or Pablo will be your graphic design best friends if you need something quick and easy and free. And so now we're going to go into social media best practices. So there's different things that you need to know when it comes to just like the best practices. So when it comes to tools, like I've said, you need to consider using a scheduling software that allows you to plan out your content out to a specific time. There's programs called Hootsuite, and I'll type that out as well in the chat for you guys. It's called Hootsuite. I just spelled Footsuite. I'm gonna blame it on the COVID brain. Hootsuite or Buffer. Those are two scheduling softwares that are free that allow you to schedule out your posts and putting in a picture and writing out your posts, and whatever it is that you need to schedule in advance. Those softwares allow you to do it in bulk, and then you can sit back and know that you've done a month's worth of posting on social media without actually having to spend a month posting on social media. Responsiveness, one thing that's really important is when you get a comment or a Facebook message that you're responding, if not immediately, in a very timely manner. Respond to all comments, whether it's positive or negative. If it's negative, one thing that you need, and this kind of goes into complaints as well, I'm segueing into complaints. If it's a negative comment or a complaint, respond to them and be gracious on the public post, but try to immediately take it to private messages. Don't have that conversation on the post for everyone to see. So if someone's complaining, no one's answering the phones, I can't get anyone on the phone, like this is awful customer service, quickly just type a response and say, thank you for your comment. We're so sorry that you're experiencing this. I'll send you a message, and then take it to private messages immediately. So you want to be really responsive, whether it's a positive comment or a negative one. And so one thing that you also need to determine is the time of day to be posting on social media. There's always debates around what's the best time to post on Instagram or to post on Facebook. But for your purposes, posting early in the morning on Facebook will always yield good results. Instagram has a really cool tool for your organization, and it's in the settings, but you can see when your followers are most active on Instagram, so you can better tailor your posts to when your followers are active on Instagram. So make note of that. But always posting early in the morning on Facebook and LinkedIn is usually effective. And if you do have a Twitter, your organization has a Twitter, there's really no time frame for that. You can post throughout the day, and if you have a small following, they'll engage with the content that you're putting out. There's two really big things that I want to talk about, and that's hashtags and tagging. When it comes to hashtags, what I always see are like an entire paragraph of just hashtags literally stating every single thing in the picture, like photo of the day, food blog, foodie, like anything that could be relevant to that photo, they're going to put in a hashtag. And that's not a best practice. There's usually a few hashtags that you can use that are relevant to the time that we're in, for whatever subject matter that you're putting out there. Find those hashtags and consolidate it to those few. It looks cleaner, it looks better, and you'll get better results out of that. And whenever you're finding hashtags, always make sure to click on that hashtag to see what the previous activity on that tag is. Has it been successful in the past? Is it still successful? And that can help you determine if it's a good one to use or not. And then it's the same thing as tagging. Make sure that you tag the people mentioned or present in the post or photo. You don't want to just tag anything and everything to try to get attention, but make it relevant and tactful. And then promoting your brand. It's really important that you're leveraging the people that you have in your circle to help you promote your social media. So make sure that you're including your coworkers on the posts that you're making. If you're going to make a post about an event and you have a work group message, make sure that you text them, say, hey, this post is going up. I need you to share it. Make sure that when you put a post up, that's really important. You're emailing your email database and you're saying the same information to them and directing them that social media site so they have the opportunity to share it with their audiences. Take every moment that you can promote your brand to your audiences. Make sure that you're doing that. That's really, really, really important. And then before we get into question time, the last thing we're going to talk about is building an audience. And this section is going to kind of be a little quick because we've talked about it already, but this really centers around Facebook with boosted posts and follow growth campaigns. With promoted posts, like I said, it has the boost button at the bottom right corner of it. So usually for a few dollars, you can boost that post to any given audience. So if it's an environmentally friendly event that you're trying to boost or send out to the organization, make sure you boost it to people that are environmentally engaged and care about all things environment, because you don't want to make, for an environmental discussion, you don't want to be sending out or trying to target an audience that's really focused on technology. So just make sure that whenever you're making your post and you're going to boost it for however much money you're boosting it, make sure that you're targeting it to the right audiences. And then you have your follow growth campaigns, and these campaigns grow your Facebook audience more directly. So you identify your target audience geographically according to age and interest. And then Facebook delivers those ads, encouraging users to follow your page. When setting up the campaign, Facebook prompts you to build out an ad, and it's fairly easy. Facebook walks you through the steps. And on those posts, you do need an interesting or colorful photo. Canva has, like I said, I built this presentation on Canva, by the way. And so on Canva, for that campaign ad that I'm talking about, the follow growth campaigns, they have that template for that size photo that you need. So you can plug it in and know that it's going to be the right dimensions. So you can upload that onto Facebook. And then you create a call to action to follow your page. So you need to remember to always be direct with your language, follow us for updates or follow for discounts on whatever. For me, it would be follow us so you don't miss the early bird registration for the Red Nose Run. And then from there, you're able to follow the growth of your page to see who it's reaching, to see if it's effective, if you need to do another one or cancel that one and fine tune it to the areas that are lacking. So that is really all the important points that I have. I could go on for hours. So when figuring out what the best practices are for marketing your organization on social media, those are really the big points that I wanted to point out. And I'm glad because now we have a few minutes for questions. And so someone asked, can you talk about how hashtags benefit the post? Hashtags benefit the post because it pretty much takes your content and it puts it in the universe of that hashtag. So say you're posting something about your dog. Your dog has a bow tie on its neck, and you do hashtag dog with bow ties. Well, you click that hashtag and you're going to see all the other dogs that have that wear bow ties. And so now you're in this very specific universe of people that have the same interests of dog wearing bow ties that you have. And then you can find them, you can interact with them, you can ask them questions, you can network with them. And that's really priceless, is finding those people that have like-minded interests and networking with them. So that's one benefit that hashtags have. But then there's also larger accounts on social media, in magazines and news organizations that look at relevant hashtags and finds content within that hashtag to promote or talk about or to write posts about. So it's important to use, that's why I say relevant hashtags and hashtags that perform well and that are still in use, because it's a networking opportunity and it's about visibility. So that's how hashtags benefit a post. And then another question that we have is, how do you balance an engaging and interactive social media presence while still maintaining professionalism? I think it's just trial and error for the most part. So for example, for my position at the Community Foundation, I post various different types of content. I post about our Facebook live streams, the money that we give out to organization and students, but I also take pictures of us around the office having fun. But when we're having fun, I make sure that we look professional. I make sure that the setting that's in the photo is of the office. There's nothing really crazy in the photo. There's nothing distracting or offensive to anyone. It's just a fun photo to look at, and I hope it makes you want to come visit us in our office. That's my goal when making these posts. And then the verbiage that I put with that picture backs up that mentality. So that, I think it's a line that you can find when creating posts and maintaining professionalism. Just ask yourself, what am I putting in the text of the post and what is the picture of? Do the employees still look professional while having fun? Then if the answer is yes, then you can probably still make that post. But then you kind of have to define fun. Are you eating cake in the office and laughing? Because that's fun to look at. That can still be professional while maintaining a social media presence. Or is it fun because you're having a happy hour with your work and everyone has alcohol in their hand, and that can borderline not be professional? So it's just figuring out what it is that you find fun and professional, and maintaining that balance. When it comes to serious subject matter, I always have to stay up on the news locally to know what's going on. And when I make posts about serious matter, I always work with our president, Burton Crenshaw, about the language and verbiage that go into that, and creating kind of the story that we're telling if we're sorry that there was a loss of life from an accident from one of our coverage counties, or we have a new scholarship fund because someone passed away and their family wanted to honor them with a scholarship. I work as a team with my work on those kind of posts. And then we also work with the families that might be affected to make sure that they're okay with the content that we're putting out. So when it comes to serious subject matter, it's not just me that's working on it. There's always other eyeballs making sure that we're doing whatever story that we're posting about justice, and we're doing it in a really tactful, kind way. So that's what I'll say dealing about that. If you have any doubts about what it is that you're posting, definitely ask someone else to look at it and get a second set of eyeballs on that. Are there any other questions? think we have like 4 minutes left, and so I wanted to leave about this much time for questions, but I'm open if you have any, and I'll put my email down in the chat. If you come up with something later, please do send me an email.
So I have, hi, can I just talk?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. I've kind of avoided hashtags altogether, and I can see how it benefits if you're partnering with an already established group that's affiliated with that hashtag. What about creating your own hashtags? If you have like we're a small organization, part of a larger organization, and so something that would connect us together, how does that gain momentum?
Yeah, so when you create your own hashtag, and I think as cliche as this is to say, a lot of weddings really utilize the personal hashtag. So you would need to create some kind of campaign beforehand within your organization to get everyone on board with what the hashtag is and what the hashtag is for. So you can't just create a hashtag and put it out there and expect people to know what it's for, but explain that to your audience, to your organization, and to the people who you work with to know why you are creating the hashtag, the purpose of the hashtag, and what the hashtag is. And then from there, when you use it, it really benefits someone from a marketing and communication standpoint, because there might be, if it's a larger organization, there might be volunteers or employees that you don't normally work with, but they're using that hashtag and sharing stories. And so that ultimately gives you content to go look at and share, and stories to tell. As far as gaining momentum to go viral, I don't have that formula. I don't know how to make that happen, but I think hashtags go big when there is a level of authenticity and humility that goes behind it, and the stories that you're telling are important. So from an organizational standpoint, in our positions, it's really useful to have your own hashtag. But you just have to make sure everyone's on board and knows what it's for and the purpose of what it's trying to accomplish from the start, if that makes sense. I would say for giving
chat.
I'm sorry?
We have a few more questions in the chat. Where do you search hashtags?
Searching hashtags. For me, I really don't search hashtags that often, just because I follow so many different accounts. So when I have like my personal Facebook page, and then I have another Facebook page where I follow news organizations, nonprofit organizations. And so I have a really diverse following, so I can see when new hashtags are being made. But like on Facebook and Twitter, there's trending tabs. And on social media, there's usually a trending tab. And when you look at that trending tab, you can see what hashtags are being used and what's trending at the moment. So that's the best way to find and search what hashtags are being used, because it changes every single day. And with Giving Tuesday coming up, I would say it's probably best just to use the Giving Tuesday hashtag. But you can use that Giving Tuesday hashtag in regards to your own hashtag. So you can put out kind of an ad campaign that lasts a week long, telling your organization Giving Tuesday is coming up. If you make a donation or whatever, be sure to use this hashtag and this hashtag, and can consolidate it that way. Or I know with Auburn University, they have their own Giving Tuesday campaign. They use a Giving Tuesday hashtag, and I believe they have their own Giving Tuesday hashtag. So there is a benefit to using your own. You just have to make sure that your audience, your potential donors who would be donating, know that that hashtag's a thing, as well as what you're using it for, if that makes sense.
Well, thank you so much, Chad, for sharing this great information.